Pictures of oddities. All right. Good morning, everybody. So last week we talked about encouragement, but it turned out to be a very discouraging sermon. So I do apologize as we talked about how the world encourages us or teaches us about encouragement, that it turned out to be kind of discouraging. Today we're going to switch a little bit, and instead of talking about how the world encourages us, we're going to talk about self-encouragement, right? Because this is the power that each and every one of us have to change the course of our lives simply by our outlook, right? That's what the world teaches us. So I just want to make sure we're all on the same page here. Encouragement, as defined last week, is a tool that is used by management, corporations, friends, relatives, to get you to be a functional, contributing member of society. Right? It's motivation for you to bring value to the community and thus find value for yourself. Is that everybody's understanding? I'm not hearing any dissent. I will take that as agreement. Yes. Okay. So that's what we grow up in. That's corporate society. That's what the schools teach us, right? It's kind of a bleak outlook on life. Everything is geared towards getting us to accomplish some type or sort of task. It's not really necessarily anything about us. It's just about what we can give. In fact, if we don't, get taken advantage of, so that others can get the best out of us, regardless of their efforts, obviously, because they try hard, then we are the ones ourselves that need to take action. If we don't, then we earn labels, right? Everyone earns labels. These are negative labels. They are seen it's just not something that you want, right? Who here, their goal in life is to be seen as a deadbeat? Who here is working very hard to be a drain on society? Josh, thank you. Who here is useless? Who here is a lazy good-for-nothing? Wow, okay. Well, you see, right. So my sermon's falling on deaf ears. These are the labels that we can earn from our friends, relatives, co-workers, from our relationships, if we're not seen as living up to our potential, right? We hear it all the time, right? When we deal with tragedies such as the recent school shooting in Florida, right? You hear all about anger at the gun lobby and how poor gun control there is, but what's brought up to get that emotional tie for you is the death of this young person and their potential. They had so much to offer, but their life was cut short. They had so much to offer. They could do so much, but their life was tragically ended. These are words of praise towards these people who have lost their lives. So even in tragedy, society's filter for a person and their value is what they can accomplish. So by your own works, what you can accomplish, that is what is attributing to your value in society. Well, if you're not in a situation where you can get that encouragement that you need from others, if you're in a situation where everything's just pooping on you, right? No matter what you do, circumstances, you just can't win. You can't get ahead. No matter what relationships you have in your life, there's no encouragement to be found there. There's only one place you can turn to still prove your worth to society, to overcome those odds, and that is to yourself. Only through your own personal self-encouragement can you still obtain value in society. Can you still be a contributing member? Can you do away with those labels? Lazy, good for nothing, deadbeat, useless. You can make something of yourself. Everything in the whole verbiage is all about value. So, what is a young person to do but to seek out to qualify, to somehow reach that level of acceptance, to be found valuable? Everybody wants to be found of value. Everybody wants to be needed. Nobody wants to be alone. We're built towards relationship. We don't know why we are, mind you, because we're just monkeys that have evolved. But we're built towards relationship with other monkeys that have evolved. Somehow, we have to find that value. So the world tells us that we can do that. We can do that if we're just motivated enough. In fact, if you were to type in to the almighty Google search, self-encouragement, the front page will be filled with articles on self-motivation. So now, encouragement is no longer about building self up, but it's pushing you to accomplish something. Well, that's kind of what we talked about last week. But self-driven. So, if we can't find that outside influence, or even if we can, no matter what people say, it comes down to us making that decision to encourage ourselves and take action. I think that whether you're looking from a biblical standard or from a worldly standard, that's what it really comes down to anyways, right? It's us personally actually doing something. People can tell us stuff. We can receive all the levels of encouragement that are necessary, both good and bad, and we can do nothing with them. We can become couch potatoes. We can live with our parents until we're age 34 in their basement and collect comic books, right? That's got some good prospects. Play video games all day? Oh. You know, Wendy, if you work hard, maybe Geo can attain this. All it takes is a little self-encouragement to accomplish those life goals. According to the book 106 Terms Associated with Individual Psychology by Alfred Adler, to encourage is to promote and activate the community feeling. That is the sense of belonging, of value, of worthwhileness. To welcome into the human community. As the loss of courage or discouragement is understood by individual psychology to be the basis of mistaken and dysfunctional behavior, so encouragement is a major part of psychotherapy and counseling. So if you're dysfunctional, we're going to cancel you, we're going to get you fixed because you're broken. The discouraged person has the same goal as the person with courage, which is to triumph over the inferiority feeling and to be seen as successful and to be seen as worthy of respect in the human world. However, he or she lacks the courage to operate on the useful side of life in the fear of being exposed as deficient. The movement towards success is then deflected towards finding a place of personal superiority over others, a movement on the useless side marked by pretense, evasion, distance, posturing, and neurotic sociopathy. a breakdown of the psychotic process. So if someone is beyond being encouraged by others, if they are discouraged, it's the path to darkness. It's the path to the breakdown of not only societal norms, but to the breakdown of their own mental processes. So that no longer are they trying to be valuable to society, now they're trying to be superior to society. Because as we all know, we are authors of our own destiny. If we cannot live up to the standards set by society, we only have ourselves to blame. We have the wrong mental motivations. We need to encourage ourselves so that we can feel happy or blot out those bad thoughts. Who wants to feel sad? So our goal, based on what society tells us, is to have value for society. Now, mind you, having value based on societal expectations is not something that's easy to obtain. That's because value, as seen by society, changes as society changes. So this very value that we're seeking to obtain is now a moving target. In fact, it is harder to hit a moving target than a stationary one. So even though we may aim for what society tells us is valuable, we have a pretty good chance of missing it because by the time we get there, the value has moved. There's nothing concrete about it. "21 Jump Street" is a funny movie. But yeah, things change, right? What was the norm for when I was in high school is different than what the norm was when my mom was in high school, and is different than when y'all were in high school. Because things change. Values change. Things that are important change. So if we are not capable of meeting that value, if we are not capable of living up to even our own self-motivations, what can we do? Well, there's several different theories on the best course of action to take. The most common when I was growing up was positive affirmations, right? If I just have a proper outlook on life, then I will be successful. I will obtain that value. In fact, it was so prevalent when I was growing up that it is the very type of thing that would be made parody of. Jacqueline, I believe you have a clip. Please, if you would direct your attention. That's enough, Jacqueline. Thank you. Now, this will go on for quite a while, but this, you know that something's popular in society when SNL is parodying it, right? Okay, thank you. All right, hey, there's people in the audience. Okay. So, Saturday Night Live. Okay. So, right, other phrases other than, Stuart Smalley's, I'm good enough, I'm smart enough, and doggone it, people like me. Other phrases are, just look on the bright side of life. Happiness is a choice, so choose to be happy. In fact, countless self-help books on choosing happiness line the bookstores, even to this day. There's a book that spent 32 weeks on the New York Times bestseller list called You Are a Badass by Jen Sincero. You might have also heard of The Power of Positive Thinking by the Reverend Norman Vincent Peale, published in 1952. It's not a new invention for my era. I didn't want you to think that. So this book is still popular today. The idea is that you can be happy if you simply choose to be, and then you can be integrated into society. The very idea that happiness is the key to finding your value has ingrained itself into our classrooms, our workplaces, into our military. It is what we seek to ensure that we have the proper coping skills, that we give the proper performance, that we have the proper mental health. Positivity. So the answer to all our problems about being discouraged, about not living up to that value that keeps moving, is just being positive that eventually you'll reach that. Now you notice that movement is not as popular today. Why? Well, because our values have changed, obviously. But there are some problems that occur. As the popularity of that movement grew, it started to be used to shame people with depression, with anxiety, or even just negative feelings. In fact, in the August and October issues of Motivations and Emotions, the official journal of the study of motivation, they have studies that prove that shaming is real. Was anybody questioning that? But we have a study, so we know that it is real. Praise the Lord. And they have concluded that when people acknowledge and address negative emotions towards their relationships or chronic illnesses, it helps them to adjust their behavior and have a more appropriate response. So negative emotions are a benefit for our overall psychological health. But wait a second. Am I good enough then? Because, right, if I'm good enough, if I'm smart enough and people like me, then I can accomplish my goal and be of value to society. But if I give credit to the fact that I'm not good enough and I fall short, I can give value to society. It doesn't make any sense. But it's how the brain is set up. It's how society is set up so that we can understand ourselves and achieve that performance that we're all looking for, to feel wanted. For years, psychologists have studied emotions because it's all about emotions, right? We are physical human beings who emote. So since we're physical human beings who emote, then everything in life should be geared towards balancing those emotions. Nobody wants to walk around being sad, feeling depressed, feeling anxious. We want to feel happy. We want that little almond-shaped piece of our brain, the amygdala, to put forth the right chemicals so it feels good. That's what self-encouragement does. That's what self-motivation does. The very act of going for a run, willing ourselves to actually go out and exercise, gives us that runner's high. That's your amygdala telling you it's okay to feel good when you do that. Willing yourself to go to the gym, willing yourself to stick to a diet, willing yourself to read a good book, willing yourself to drink some chamomile tea. Because you are personally motivating yourself towards doing those tasks and accomplishing those tasks, you now have value. And it feels good. Because it's all about the feel good. Now, even though you can feel good and achieve happiness, it can somehow become harmful to you. So, how is that even possible? Because, well, there's that possibility that you could not live up to your own standards, or you cannot live up to the standards of society, so you can become depressed. You can realize that you're a failure and begin to feel like that. Or we become so disillusioned and we believe that we are grandiose beyond extreme. And we have become more important than any value society can label on us because, I'm James. Come on. Right? Neither of those two opposites are helpful. So this leads us to try to find a way to make ourselves feel better when we continuously fall short of societal value or our own. We call this self-soothing. So we might lose ourselves in video games. We might take opportunity to, shut ourselves off from society. In order to feel good, we may even decide that it is a positive thing for us to harm ourselves. Because we're in control of our own destiny, right? We're the ones that assign our own value. We might turn to Facebook because, doggone it, when I go onto Facebook, I have thousands of friends, right? Of course, recently, in-depth studies from Harvard have revealed that Facebook doesn't actually help. There's an article on Salon.com that takes this information from the Harvard study and comes up with this article and tagline. Facebook is annihilating your self-esteem, and you're not alone. The dopamine high of notification is never enough. Research ties social media site to depression and anxiety. Oh, we can't even trust in Facebook, but I have so many friends. But waiting for that affirmation of your friends is still looking for them to assign that value to it, so it falls short. So there's no encouragement there. We need to feel good. And if we can't find our feel-goods that way, we must not be contributing to society. And if we're not contributing to society, we must be a drag on society. And I just need to get away from it all. And so instead of soothing ourselves, we turn to escapism, right? I just need to get away from it. Last week we talked about that TGIF mentality. Thank God it's Friday. Why? Because it's the weekend and I can go get wasted. I can make all the cares of the world, all the struggles of the week, trying to be contributing to society, can just go away. Escapism, obviously, only helps for a small amount of time, but it seems to feel good at the moment, and that's what it's all about, is the feels. Now, would it be any surprise to anybody that in 2007, antidepressants became the most prescribed drugs in America? Only to be surpassed recently by opioids. We have an opioid epidemic, right? 2.1 million people are abusing painkillers. They're looking to escape. Because no matter how hard they search, they just can't find that value. They can't find that permanent feel-good. It's very discouraging for us. Because we are looking to obtain that value that the world tells us we can obtain if we just fit the social norms. Not too much this way, not too much that way. If we just motivate ourselves, if we work hard, we can become something. Now, mind you, that something is going to change. And it may not be of any value in a couple years. So we often find ourselves struggling to find ourselves in the world, to find our place, to find our value, to find a way to contribute. Everything that the world pushes for as a solution to the problem falls short because it is missing something. It is missing what the real problem is in trying to take care of the symptoms. So as long as we continue to look for our value in people's eyes, we're going to fall short and struggle. And it is going to be difficult for you to encourage yourselves and to overcome that. Because when we are encouraging ourselves, where are we looking? To ourselves. Our focus is ourselves. How do we really expect to find any value if our focus is ourselves? If we just motivate ourselves, we can meet someone else's standard. That doesn't even make sense. But that's what the world tells us that we need to be looking for. We're going to get into it more next week, but I think that we all here have a clue as to where we may be able to find our value. The Bible tells us specifically that we were made in the image of God. Therefore, we don't have to look for our value in and of ourselves. Well, in fact, we don't even own ourselves. We don't have to look for our value based on our contribution to society or what other people tell us is useful. We don't have to look for motivation in order to accomplish those goals of feeling valuable. We don't have to look for those empty feel-goods, those momentary happinesses, because our value is assigned by our Creator. It's not something that we can assign to ourselves. But the world is geared towards setting its own standards. Our financial marketplace, our health in society, our markets, our inflation, every little bit of commerce is built upon one thing and one thing only: speculation. If people aren't confident that the economy is going to go well, guess what happens? The economy doesn't go well. If they're confident that the economy is going to go well, the economy goes well. How is it possible that you can cement yourself in that feeling of being valuable if that mark continues to move? You will always fall short until you have that concrete value that is set by God. But the world tells us that that doesn't exist. So I have some questions for you. Next week we're going to talk about what the Bible actually says in regards to self-encouragement, and then we'll continue on the week after that to talk about what the Bible says we as a community need to do in regards to self-encouragement. And I think that you'll find the definition is a little bit different. But for now, let's concentrate on a couple of questions that we need to ask ourselves about how the world views self-encouragement. So I want you to ask yourself, and be free to discuss with your cell groups, what it is that you do specifically to feel good. We all have those little things, right? I eat frozen strawberries because it makes me feel good. I play video games because it makes me feel good. You may have other motivations for doing those things, but narrow down the things that you do specifically to feel good. I would like to discuss those different things that you do to calm yourselves. When you get stressed out, when you feel anxious, when you feel fearful, when you're angry, how do you calm that? What are the things that you do? And then I would like for you to discuss what goals do you push yourself for? Where do you direct yourself? What are you seeking to obtain? And even what goals have others set for you to obtain? Let's go ahead and take opportunity to do that.